Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome to our first episode of our Winnipeg Jets Franchise Mode here in NHL 24. So, yes, we're finally able to start this Jet series after 2 weeks of NHL being out, as they finally released their first roster update with guys like Logan Cooley and Adam Fantilli. So this episode will pretty much just be a setup episode where we take a look at everybody on our NHL roster in our system, and we'll probably look at a couple of the new guys that EA added to this roster as well, just because might as well for a little something extra. But yeah, basically we'll do no simulating in this episode, but we do want to obviously take a look at like the draft class and all that stuff, kind of set up our team the way we want it. And yeah, hopefully we have a sense of direction where we want to go with this team, because obviously recently Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele signed 7-year extensions that kick in next year, which basically when I was thinking of doing a Jet series, I was thinking of potentially flipping both those guys away if our team wasn't doing good halfway through year one. Well, now that they're signed for 7 more years, it's like I don't think that's kind of realistic to trade them away as soon as they sign an extension. So we'll probably have to hold on to them for at least a few years in this series, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is. So basically, let's go through our roster here on paper and see what we got. We'll start off with our goaltending, because might as well. So obviously, Connor Hellebuyck, one of the guys, like I said, that's on that new 7-year extension. Great goaltender, but the question mark right now is if this team is going to be competitive with him still in net, because obviously we could potentially flip him away in a few years, maybe, when the team isn't doing so well. Like, the team should drop off eventually, because we might start losing depth. We might not have our guys develop the way we want to. Like, we don't have a lot of cap space. That's one thing with this team. So Connor Hellebuyck would be a good guy to flip away in a few years, maybe to free up cap space. But for right now, obviously, he's one of the best goaltenders in the entire NHL. So we might want to hold on to him for at least a few seasons. But obviously, coming off a 920 save percentage last year, I think it would be kind of stupid to kind of trade him away right now, especially considering now that he actually has an extension. We also got Laurent Brossoit as our backup, so not a bad backup option. Obviously, just coming off a Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights, and obviously had some really good numbers in Vegas too, because Vegas was a great defensive team. On the defensive side of things, we have Josh Morrissey, who is still signed here for quite a while. I wouldn't mind honestly holding on to Morrissey for like his entire career, because he honestly might be one of my favorite players from the Jets. Like, if I was to get a name on the back of this jersey, I probably would have got Morrissey on it, but I didn't get any name on it. So yeah, probably Morrissey would, I would like to keep him around as long as possible, but he's obviously going to be probably on the decline in the next like 8 or so seasons, who knows. We also got Neil Pionk, who's not too bad. He's only signed for 2 years though, so that's a bit of a question mark. If this team's not competitive, do we flip Neil Pionk? Because he might honestly want more than $6 million on his next contract. We also have Dylan DeMello, great shutdown defenseman, but he is a pending UFA, so he might be one of these guys on his way out at the end of the season. Or if our team's not competitive, we could always trade him away and maybe recoup some assets. Same type of boat with Brendan Dillon actually as well, because he's signed for 3.9 for the season. So these two guys, I'd say, maybe are both on the chopping block depending on how we're doing at the halfway point of the year. We also have Nate Schmidt, who's still signed here for 2 years, but once again pending UFA in a few years. So honestly, we could lose a lot of players from our roster in the early stages to free agency. So Pionk, DeMello, Dillon, Schmidt. At least we have a little bit more leeway with the guys like Logan Stanley and Dylan Sandberg. But both of them are pending RFAs, so we might hold on to them for a little bit longer or look for some replacements in free agency. From a right wing standpoint, we got Nino Niederreiter, who's also pending UFAs, so there's a lot relying on our team to be competitive in these first 2 years, and if we're not, then we're going to fall back probably into a rebuild territory. That's the way I'm probably viewing this series now, because originally I was thinking of more of a rebuilding, but I think right now, since we have Scheifele and Hellebuyck locked up, the best course of action for our team would be to try and be competitive for the first 2 years, maybe win ourselves the Stanley Cup, and then go back into a rebuild for a decent chunk of time, and then find ourselves back into the playoffs eventually with maybe some of the core still intact. I think that's a good way of running the series, but make sure to let me know down below on how you guys think we should run this team. But yeah, if we aren't competitive here in year one, I'd say Niederreiter would be a good option to flip away to get maybe like a high up pick or something like that. So he might be trade bait at the deadline, depending on how the team does. We also have Kyle Connor, who's another big question mark, I'd say, him and Nick Ehlers, because Ehlers is 2 years out from a UFA status and Connor is 3 years out. And if we're not competitive in these 2 to 3 years, both of them might want to leave this team. There's easily that question. So I think Connors and Ehlers might be in their last few years here. Potentially, I do like both these players quite a bit. I would love to hold on to them, but it might not make sense based on the positioning of our team at that point. So we definitely got to try and be competitive early on if we really want to try and get these guys to stick around on the team. We also got Iafallo, who is signed for 2 years, and then he's also a pending free agent, so another guy that might be gone. You also have Morgan Barron, who's still got RFA status at least, and Vlad Nemesnikov, who's signed for 2 years before he's a UFA. So you could kind of say the left wing side might be a bit barren, so to speak, in the terms of the depth, because we might lose every single left winger we have within a season or so, or within 2 seasons. So we definitely got to think about who we want to hold on to and who might be leaving this team depending on the cap situation. Because Ehlers, I think I've seen him similarly good in franchise mode, so he might be one of these players that want a lot of money once his contract ends. Same with Kyle Connors, so we might not want to be giving away too much money depending on what type of prospects we have at that point in time. Then at center, obviously, we got Mark Scheifele, who's now got a 7-year extension. Obviously, if I was doing a rebuilding series, I would have probably flipped him and, like I said, Hellebuck away. But I think for now, we probably want to hold on to him at least till the same time frame as Kyle Connor's contract is done. And then we can maybe look to flip him away to maybe re-sign Kyle Connor and hold on to him. And then Scheifele could be on his way to some other team that needs centers like Boston or whatever. So, yeah, Scheifele is still here for a little bit longer, probably. Gabe Vilardi's a good piece to build around. I do like that we have Gabe Vilardi at least to hold on to. Him and Perfetti will be definitely our best center prospects. Same with some good young guys like Gustafsson and Kupari aren't really bad options. But you do have also a lot of age, though, too, with like Adam Lowry, who's 30 as well. And obviously, like I was saying, Scheifele, Mason Appleton's not really much of anything. So we definitely have some players that we could trade away if we really want to that are pending free agents in a few years. And we also have some building blocks to build around, which is really, really solid. So that's our NHL roster. In terms of in the system, what do we got? Because I don't really know the prospect pool for the Jets that much. So we got Christian Reichel, who's not really panning out, unfortunately. He might be a bottom 6 guy at best, but he's not really that great. We do have, is this Chaz? Yeah, it's Chaz Lucius. So Chaz Lucius, decent prospect at least to start building around for our future center core. Will he develop into being a good center? It's really tough to tell because sometimes top 6 forwards develop and sometimes they don't. We also have Henry Nikkanen. He's not really the best either. More of a bottom 6 option, but still decently young, so that's good. And we do have Brad Lambert. That's actually a really good player to build around. I know I've had Brad Lambert in Chicago last year, and he developed into being a really good player after leaving us. So Brad Lambert is probably one of our best prospects for sure to build our center depth around. Like him and Perfetti would be a great 1-2 punch. But honestly, maybe Brad Lambert doesn't develop into being that type of guy for us. Maybe he does. I haven't seen how good he pans out to be in franchise mode yet this year. So I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bon Giovanni? Yeah, it's probably Bon Giovanni. Yeah, Bon Giovanni. Wyatt Bon Giovanni. Never heard of you. So we got him. He's not really much of anything because he's already 24. We got Colby Barlow. That's not a bad prospect as well. Got top 6 potential. You also got Jillikin, and you also got Connor Levis, or Levi? I don't even know. But he was a 7th round pick. So you have some potential with some of these guys, which is good. But the question really is if they actually all develop. Who is this Julian dude? Jacob Julian. Never heard of you either. So there is some center prospects we got in our system, which is good, especially Lambert. But Colby Barlow could be a solid piece as well in the future, or a guy we could easily package away if he doesn't really start developing. Left wing wise, we got Axel Jonsson-Fjallby and his amazing hair. Yep, look at that flow. Jeez, kind of jealous of that flow, to be honest. He's a solid piece. I wouldn't mind having him in the NHL, to be honest, but I don't really know where we would slot somebody like him in with the amount of left wingers we already have. So we also have Dominic Toninato. Vesalainen not really panning out, which is unfortunate because he did have high expectation when he was drafted, I think. But yeah, he's not very good. Low top 6 potential, 24 years old. I don't really know about Vesalainen. He might be somebody we would package in a deal if we want to. There's also Jeff Malott, I think his name is. Jeffrey Vial, who I believe likes to fight, if I'm right. Yeah, he likes to fight a lot. Good that he has good fighting skill and he's got aggressiveness. I've seen, I think he was fighting, what was his name? Dennis Gilbert from the Abbotsford Heat. Well, not Abbotsford Heat. Is it Abbotsford Heat? No, it's not Abbotsford Heat. Abbotsford Heat was like a team way back in the way back days in the AHL. The Calgary Wranglers, that's the team I'm thinking of. I think I saw a fight with him in it, so that's kind of neat. And you also have Daniel Torgerson, who I think I remember, yeah, he has really good shot power. I remember seeing him in the preseason against Ottawa, and he was actually pretty decent, but he's only got low top 9 potential, so he probably won't be much of anything for us. Right wing wise, what's your name? Fabian Wagner. Huh, don't know you really either. So we do have at least some prospects on the forward core in the AHL, which is good. A lot of pieces to build around, but will they all develop? I don't think they all will, but you never know. We also do got Ville Heinola, so that's a big question is, does Ville Heinola get thrown into the NHL defensive core? And what do we do to get him in there? Because obviously getting him in there would be a very important thing for us to do. We would probably have to look at trading away either Logan Stanley or Dylan Sandberg or somebody else that's in like the top 5 parts. So like we would maybe have to look at Nate Schmidt getting moved out, or somebody that's a pending free agent like DeMello or Dylan. Or do we give Heinola one more year in the AHL? He's listed as a top 6, so I wouldn't mind getting Heinola in already. We could look to trade him as well if we really want to, but I wouldn't mind having Heinola in since he's only 22. He did get recently injured in real life, I'm pretty sure, so he's out quite long term. They also have Kanaziev, Capobianco. I remember him. I don't know why Capobianco's a 78. EA rates people really weirdly because Capobianco's barely played in the NHL. Yeah, only 73 games, yet he's got like a top 6 role almost. You also have Declan Chisholm, I think. Yeah, Declan Chisholm. Simon Lundmark. Okay, so you got a couple good prospects. Kuzmin, Elias Salamonson, Bauer, what's your name? Tyrell Bauer. Yeah, we do definitely have a lot of good young prospects, but not all of them will pan out. They could also, some of them be trade bait. Like I said, if we want to be competitive in these first few years, maybe we'll look to trade away at one of our prospects to try and get somebody in to get us at least a cup here early on. And then we would look, obviously, to maybe go back into more of a rebuild state in a few years. We also got Salmonen and Thomas Milic, which I believe he was a good goaltender for the junior team, right? Canada Juniors. You also have Mr. Colin Delia, the old man. He's only 29, but he looks literally like 35 almost. And you also have, I think his name is Dominic, right? Yeah, Dominic DiVincentis. I don't know how to pronounce it. DiVincentis. I don't know. I can barely pronounce weird names like that. So yeah, that's basically what we got in the system and in the NHL. We do got a couple unsigned guys. So actually, Levi and Julian are both unsigned at the moment. But yeah, that's basically what our roster looks like. And quickly before we end this episode, let's take a look at a couple of the new players on this roster. First, let's go to Connor Bedard, though, because I believe he got an upgrade in overall. From what I saw, yeah, he's up to an 83. This is what he'll look like when you start up a new franchise mode. So there is Connor Bedard. And then we got to look at Adam Fantilli, 80 overall, medium elite potential. Looking pretty good. Not the best shot accuracy. I probably would have, if I was to make him, even though I'm not really a prospect person, I think he would make his shooting accuracy much better, to be honest, considering he's a power forward. But they didn't really do that. They kind of shafted him on his accuracy. Made him have good shot power, but that accuracy needs to be much better for him to be an efficient power forward. Still probably will be pretty good in franchise mode. I've never seen him simulate yet, so. And then the final player I wanted to look at is Logan Cooley. I think there's a few others as well that got upgraded or added to this, but I don't remember all of them. So let's take a look at Logan Cooley. He's got better shot accuracy and stuff like that. So I would honestly have given Fantilli better shot accuracy. Cooley's a good playmaker, though. Really good passer already. 89 passing, and he's only played a few NHL games. At least the defensive awareness is not bad, like kind of in the territory where it should be, because EA really does not do a good job with ratings, as you guys probably have known who've watched 2E and whatnot. They always crank defensive awareness way up there for superstar players, like Connor McDavid, for example. Cooley having only an 83 defensive awareness is not too bad. It could obviously be a lot lower than that, or it should be technically maybe a lot lower than that. I don't know how good he is defensively in real life, but most of these skilled players should not be good defensively. They should be pure offensively minded. Unless you have a guy like a two-way forward, somebody like a Travis Boyd. See, he has right around the same defensive awareness as a Logan Cooley, when I think Travis Boyd is a much better defensive player, but I could be completely wrong with that. But that is just how I see the game. And I know Tugi sees it that way, Tactics sees it that way, but EA continues to rate people very weirdly in their games. But final thing, let's take a look at this draft class, because I didn't actually do that yet. Let's just see what we got for this upcoming year. So there is a generated guy, Yuri Yakupov. Oh no, a Yakupov projected to go first overall. No problems with that. He might honestly be a franchise defenseman, but he could probably also be like a high elite, because Berkeley Catan, obviously this is his draft. Same with Sam Dickinson, Tanner Howe, Kivi Haryu's in there. Another generated guy in Roy Motto. I know we're not going to have a super high pick in this year's draft regardless, though. Because we're probably going to be a team that does somewhat decently. Like, we could make the playoffs in year one. So we might not be able to get one of these guys. But we might be able to try and trade up to get somebody if we want to. Because we do got the assets. If we're not having a good first year. What goalie prospects are there? There's a Russian goalie, or not Russian, Ukrainian, my bad. Shout out to Ukraine. And then there's also a Swiss goaltender. I think these are both generated. Maybe not Krish, because I've never seen that last name before, Kirsch. I know Emil Vigny is obviously real and whatnot, but there is some generated goaltending, which is good. So we might be able to find some good prospects in this upcoming draft to still build up the core for once we decide to tear it down. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll probably simulate, I'd say, like maybe 41 games of the season up to like January the 1st round. Kind of weigh our options a bit if we want to go the rebuilding route right away, or if we want to give this team a few years until like Kyle Connor's contract is done, and then maybe start to tear it down a little bit. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.